Joining me today on NYSE Floor Talk is Jack O'Mara. He is the co-founder and CEO at Ochre Bio. Jack, wonderful to have you here. Thanks for joining me on Floor Talk.
Judy, thanks so much. Really excited to be here.
A pleasure. So now let's start off by talking about the company. Tell me what Ochre Bio does and what kind of progress can we expect over the next year or two?
So Ochre Bio is all about liver disease. We're a biotechnology company that's developing RNA medicines for chronic liver conditions. Liver disease, as you may well know, is one of the top 10 global killers. It's been a little bit of the ugly duckling of pharmaceutical development for a while, though. There hasn't been a whole lot of success. We haven't seen many breakthroughs, although we're on potentially the precipice of some major scientific advancements. And we differentiate in our approach to liver disease through the use of two primary technologies. The first is what we call deep phenotyping, where we try to better characterize liver disease progression using the latest in omics and phenotypic analyses like single cell, spatial sequencing, imaging AI to really study and zoom in on the disease process. The second is we take those insights, we design siRNA drugs, and rather than testing them in animals, we tend to focus on human-based translational models. Everything from biopsies of diseased liver tissue through to actually keeping whole human livers alive outside the body and trying to run essentially preclinical, clinical trials. And ultimately, we've been focused on building our platform over the last number of years, and we're about to progress our first candidates towards the clinic, which is a really exciting moment for the company. But in addition, we're exploring ways that we can use these technologies to advance research in partnership with larger pharmaceutical companies as well.
Now, you describe the company and its approach as human first.
Yes.
What do you mean by this? And how does it set you apart from other drug developers?
That's a great question. So look, I think traditionally drug discovery is focused on mouse models as a way to validate new insights, and mice play an important role in drug discovery, but for chronic conditions that have maybe a multi-year, even decade-long time frame to develop, and for conditions that are very innately human, mice aren't necessarily the best model with which to test out new drugs. They don't have the same lifestyle patterns. They're not very fond of a glass of wine on a Friday evening like us humans might be. So rather than focusing on that type of modeling, we take diseased tissue samples from our hospital partners in Taiwan. We take discarded donor organs that would otherwise be used, that couldn't be used for transplant because they have too much disease, and we maintain them on machines outside the body and really trying to run preclinical, clinical trials to test whether our drugs will work in an actual human organ on a device. And in that way, we hope to ultimately improve translation in this space.
Now, can you explain how you use machine learning to support your drug discovery? And tell me, what success have you seen with this so far?
Yeah, look, it's a great question. I think like a lot of people in the drug discovery healthcare domain, I'm pretty excited about the promise of these advanced computational techniques to improve our ability to understand biology and ultimately make better medicines for patients. But I think anything in drug discovery takes longer than we think it will be. But to date, we've really focused on using this technology for the discovery of new biology. So to really help us understand and unravel the complexities of human disease. By amassing a lot of this genomic, phenotypic, so imaging data on human liver samples, actual sequencing data, and applying AI and computational techniques to all that data, we try to use it to uncover maybe non-obvious insights into what's driving the pathology. And as an example of how we've applied this, one is in imaging AI, so trying to use really rich imaging data on histology to understand disease progression or disease states. But the other, which is perhaps a little bit more interesting, is that we've done a lot of CRISPR perturbation screens where we knock out a particular gene and study its effect on the overall transcriptome of a human hepatocyte model. And by using that data and comparing it against our phenotypic data, we can apply more novel computational techniques to try and see if what does one gene's role have an effect on the disease, but potentially what other genes act along that pathway. And in doing so, we've improved our hit rate for some of our early screening from maybe 1 to 5% of targets having the effect we hoped to actually upwards of 25% at times. So it's a pretty exciting improvement in early discovery stage, but again, playing a kind of key role in that stage.
Now, we're seeing a lot of big news coming out of the liver disease space, including obesity drugs potentially playing a role to treat liver disease, and the impending approval of the first fatty liver disease drug. Can you explain where Ochre sits within this current landscape?
Yeah, so look, I've been sort of banging the drum of the importance of liver disease for half a decade now, and I think we're really at the verge of on the precipice of a real scientific breakthrough for liver disease patients. On Thursday, there may be the approval of the first ever sort of MASH treatment, which is really exciting. And as you said, the obesity drugs now are not only having this amazing effect on obesity as an indication, but also having potentially an antifibrotic effect on early stages of liver disease. So that's really promising for patients globally. I think where we see our role in this is ultimately their later stages of chronic liver disease. There isn't much data to suggest that the obesity drugs will play a big role there quite yet. So we're really excited about pointing our deep understanding of human hepatocyte biology and developing medicines that could ultimately play a role in the later stages of the disease process. And we think it's a pretty exciting time to be in that domain. So for the first time, I'm having people knocking on our door about our discovery capabilities for this particular stage of the process.
Well, sounds like there's definitely lots of exciting things happening over at Ochre.
We are very excited indeed.
Well, Jack, it's been wonderful to talk with you. Thanks for joining me on Floor Talk.
Thank you so much for having me.